Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming out this morning. My name is Sheryl Delozier. I'm proud to represent the 88th District and have the ability to greet you all today on behalf of the Faircloth family and the ability to present something that we've worked for and something that will commemorate the service of a young Marine. We have with us today many people. We have participants that were more than willing to come together and pay homage to the fact that those that serve our country. I remember when we put a resolution together on the floor, and I learned so much about the service of the young Marine that gave all to our country. And I got to know the mom and the dad and the ability for us to say on the House floor, thank you for your service, thank you for what you gave, and thank you for letting us remember you in a very public way. We moved forward from that with the family, and we came and had a discussion about the fact of being able to commemorate a soldier, commemorate someone in a way that many, many others would be able to see what it is that this person gave for us. We are able to do that today with the help of many people that came, and like I said, all we had to do was ask, say what it was for, and the answer was yes. So we work with PennDOT. We're able to name a bridge for Jonathan Faircloth. The ability for us to do that is very humbling because it truly means that somebody gave to our country what many, many have also given. Having someone local, having someone that is able to point to and say that's someone that is a role model and that is someone that we want our youth to grow up to emulate, that's something that needs to be remembered, and that's why we're here today.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here for this special occasion. I am both honored and humbled to be part of this ceremony honoring the service of a fallen Marine. I know there are a number of dignitaries in attendance. However, undoubtedly, the Faircloth family is the reason we are here. Mom and Dad, Dean and Beverly, grandmother, Beverly Yost, sister, Danielle, brother, James. While I can never fully grasp the loss you have endured, I can say with great confidence that your son responded to our nation's most noble call to wear the uniform of a United States Marine. There's a saying that poor is a nation that has no heroes, but poorer still is the nation that having heroes fail to remember and honor them. I assure you, our great nation has both heroes and remembers them with reverence, gratitude, and honor. And today, while we could collectively grieve the loss of Corporal Jonathan D. Faircloth and speak of a life cut short, but instead, today I believe we should celebrate the life of this great American, a great American hero, as we honor him by dedicating a bridge named in his name. Corporal Faircloth was a man of flesh and blood, like all of us. But in his soul, he was a man of stone and steel, much like the structure that will bear his name. I can assure you, as a combat Marine, Corporal Faircloth knew danger. With 4 Air Medals, the Iraq and Afghanistan Campaign Medal, Corporal Faircloth also knew risk. But every day he woke up and brushed aside those worries to don his Marine uniform and serve. And while I did not have the honor to know Jonathan, I did have the opportunity to share conversations with Major Collins. He was the aircraft commander of the fated Red Lion 27. To quote Major Collins, Corporal Faircloth was one of the best Marines I ever had the pleasure of knowing. I consider him a brother, and it still brings me to tears that he did not make it out of Red Lion 27 with the rest of my crew. He went on to say that, as is often the case, a man's service to his nation in times of conflict reveal a great deal about his character. During these trying periods, a man's traits are laid bare for all to witness. It was during this period that I came to know Corporal Faircloth. What struck me most about this young man was the vibrant energy, eagerness, curiosity, relentless dedication, which he went about everything. On every occasion, he brought with him a steadfast determination to accomplish the mission, which always manifests itself through exceptional preparation, knowledge, and courageous actions. He continues, "To me, Corporal Jonathan Faircloth is the epitome of what it means to be a professional Marine." End quote. I'll step away from the script. Speaking with Major Collins, it was heartfelt, and he addressed a special Marine, and he had special feelings for it. And for a Major to know his Marine as well as he knew Corporal Faircloth, that speaks abundance and the greatness of this Marine. I can only echo Major Collins' remark. As young men and women, we joined the Marine Corps for many reasons. But in that commitment, we discover a greater purpose. A purpose we may not fully understand, but we know it is a calling that contributes something greater than self. So be comforted in knowing that a Marine represents the fabric of his or her foundation: family, friends, community. And Marines rise above what is expected. We love, we protect, we make life just a little better. We don't ask or expect much, for we are paid in the glory of service. However, we do ask that we remember our own. Corporal Faircloth answered the call, and he added a thread that strengthens our foundation with a full and dedicated life, which is a bridge to uplift, to connect, and to inspire. To the family and friends of Corporal Faircloth, a Marine's life is always full, because a Marine knows commitment, he knows obligation, and he knows dedication. I wish you Godspeed and the tranquil peace that can be found by knowing your son's loss was not in vain. In the words of our Commander-in-Chief, our nation owes a debt to its fallen heroes that we can never fully repay, but we can honor their sacrifice. And today, we honor the sacrifice of Corporal Jonathan D. Faircloth. Semper Fi, thank you, and God bless America.
Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to bring up for a few remarks Principal of Mechanicsburg Area Senior High School, David Harris. Once a Wildcat, always a Wildcat.
Thank you, Representative Delozier. First, let me say it's an honor to be here on behalf of the Mechanicsburg Area School District and the Mechanicsburg Area Senior High. My connection with the Faircloth family, I think, goes about 25 years back. I believe Danny was in my 7th grade history class, and it takes me up through John as a principal. And if you can imagine, those of you who know John best, being a principal, I knew John a little differently initially. And John, what I remember about John, there was certainly a confidence, but there was a glimmer in the eye as well. And at times I felt I was a relatively new principal, that he was just testing me out to see if I could handle my work. But I think he took a little pride in that and enjoyed that a little bit. And sometime later, after, of course, graduation, you lose track of 300 students and where they go and what they do. And in the cafeteria outside the lunchroom, we frequently have military recruiters, and oftentimes they are our graduates who have completed their basic training and are back as a part of their service. And there was John. And while he still had that glimmer and he still had that confidence, John was definitely a different man, and he was a man. Before that, he was a boy. He was trying to figure it out. He was trying to figure out what was next. But that day, he was so proud, I think, of himself, proud to come back and show us who he was, who he had become. And I shared a little bit of this at the time of his unfortunate passing, when contacted by the media from Honolulu. That was the memory I had of John, he had a serious side to him, I think, that I was aware of, but he knew how to have a little bit of fun with that, and that's what stands out for me. And as a high school educator, as an educator today, we have a long tradition of pride towards military service in our community, in our school district, and we are very, very honored to see that John will be remembered in this way as in a prominent location in our community. So again, on behalf of the school district, to the family, again, thank you for the gift of John and certainly for his service. And again, I'm humbled to be here in the presence of so many who have served, and of course, certainly in the family who has paid the sacrifice. So thank you, and God bless.
I also have the honor of being able to present to the family 2 letters from our U.S. Congressman. Through tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan, Corporal Faircloth's tireless dedication and professionalism challenged all with whom he served to be the best. His strength, courage, and sense of duty earned him numerous awards and recognitions, but most importantly, touched the lives of countless people. That was from Scott, and then also from Lou Barletta. While it will always be true that family and friends will never forget the events on March 29th, 2011, the day Corporal Faircloth gave his life for his nation, his fellow Pennsylvanians will now be reminded daily of his sacrifice as well. At the young age of 22, he had already served in both Iraq and Afghanistan while on training maneuvers in Hawaii. The helicopter crash brought an end to his military service, which saw him decorated many times for his performance in uniform, but not an end to his memory. In naming of his bridge will ensure that his name will live on. Both of the letters, those are just parts of the letters, but both of the letters from the Congressman echo the thoughts of many of us here today, which is a great big thank you to the family. Thank you for everything. You raised a son, obviously willing to serve, and you raised a son that was willing to put his life on the line and give everything that he had. Next, we get to introduce someone who knew the soldier very well. That individual is his father, and he has a few words. Are you going to come up to? And his wife, and his mom, Beverly.
Well, good morning, everybody. I have notes, but I don't know how well I'll stick to them. But I was thinking about the word memorial over the week, and I looked it up in dictionary.com, and today is actually a celebration of John's finished works here, and the word memorial is something designed to preserve the memory of a person, event, as a monument or a holiday. So even though maybe we came to this place by grim circumstances, today we're celebrating. So Jonathan would be the first one to make some sort of a funny and get us all smiling. So I just want to encourage everybody to lean your heart in that direction today. Today is a celebration. I wanted to thank everybody, of course, for coming out. Sheryl Delozier, thank you so much for your tireless work. Yeah, that's right. And her, in fact, her whole office was very kind and helpful throughout the time setting this up for the year here. I want to thank all the officials that came out. I didn't expect his principal to be here, but that was quite an honor, and thank you. Everybody's busy life, and the wonderful words from the Marine that spoke was a great blessing. So anyhow, we wanted to talk about John a little bit. As a boy, he was a sensitive and easy-going fella, but he was always had a rugged disposition. And yeah, I mean, he'd be little and in a diaper, and you'd give him a little paddle, and he wouldn't give you anything. He'd just take it, wouldn't even give you any tears. And so Jonathan was always a rugged fella, but he, as his mother would say, he loved the underdog. He was an early responder in our family. In our family, we have a long tradition of we trust God in all things, from the beginning of our marriage and even before. And Jonathan had all of his brothers and sisters did, but especially John at a very young age was one of the first ones that we saw to respond to the voice of God. And he was an encouragement to us that way. He was a courageous little fellow. And he was very fond of his brother and his sister, and they all got along really good, and there was a strong bond of love between them all. And I know that he's looking down on us today, happy and that we're all here to celebrate with him. Again, his grandmother was his favorite person on the planet. And he just liked Nana. Nana would take him and take my very expensive remote control car out and let him stand in the sunroof of her car while he drove it around in the school parking lot. Of course, she wouldn't hold still with the car. She felt upon herself that she needed to continue driving while he navigated the car around. And my very expensive and beloved remote control car became parts because of that. But
We had fun.
yes, he wouldn't let me get mad at her. He stuck up for her. So I would maybe call John sometimes a polite nonconformist. So he's a handsome fellow. If you haven't seen his picture on the flyer, some people even say he looked a little bit like a blonde Sylvester Stallone. And oh yeah, that's right. And his brother, and he worked for our company with me, and a bunch of the folks came out today. They worked with him, and he spent a summer. And they all, over the years, have all remarked that he was a good worker, and he was very studious, and was just a good fellow to work with. And I know another funny story there is he was always very busy, but one day the boss did come to me and say how I had to get John to stop climbing up the poles in the warehouse, which was a little dangerous, although humorous. So Jonathan had decided well before the end of his 12th year of school to join the Marines, and he and I had talked about it, and him and his mother, and we were, as a family, we have no regrets. We were with him. We were very much behind his decision to serve, and he knew the cost, and he first of all measured, and we supported him those costs, and I wanted to honor John for his courage as such a young fella to take that avenue. And so we love you, John, and we thank you for your strength that you lend to us. He loved and very much his Marine Corps brothers and sisters. They were his family away from family, and I can't say that strong enough. I think his brother James has got to know many of them. I think that he would agree. And it is very touching that they feel that same way about him. And it's moving and enjoyable every time that we get to spend time with them. And we have some of their pictures on our refrigerator. It's just Jonathan brought us an extended family that we enjoy. They're a blessing to us, and we hope that we're a blessing to them. We all miss Jonathan very much. We think of him every day, but he's never far away from us in our hearts. And so we look forward to the coming day that we'll be reunited with our son, and in the hope that Christ gives us. And so today we just want to lift our hearts and celebrate this great honor for Jonathan. Today is really about him. We mentioned the family a lot, but truly today is about Jonathan and his work and his sacrifice. And we're all going to someday lay it down and go home, meet our Maker, and we'll have something left behind, whatever it is. And Jonathan has, for his 22 years, has left a very good legacy for such a young man. So I wanted to just end with some memories, and that's why his mother's here. She's better at memorizing some of these things than I am. Beverly?
I'll try to place this.
Sure.
Well, Jonathan, when he was a little baby, he was extremely strong-willed. I was a little concerned about the intensity of his strong willingness to just do whatever it was that he wanted to do. And I saw my dear friend Dee Cashman on this and a couple other people of how to train up this child. And I know why he was strong, because the Lord knew that there was a purpose in his life, there was a call on his life, and this is why his will was intense as it was. But at the same time, as strong as his will was, there was a great compassion in his heart. He had one of the most compassionate hearts of anybody that I've ever met. He always would be for the person who was, I would call them the underdog. Anybody who was down and out. Maybe that's why he gravitated to some of the kids in school that would, find themselves in trouble, because his heart would go out. Not only that, but he also would get into trouble. And I am so grateful that our principal was here today. And there's a whole lot of stuff he could tell you about Jonathan. But when they're young like that, they are looking and seeking who they are, who their identity is, what their identity is. And Jonathan was looking and seeking, along with his upbringing in a Christian home. And I have to tell you, the Marines are fantastic. I love the Marines. They came to our home and they talked to us. They didn't just come and snatch our boy away. They would spend hours with us, preparing us of what the possibilities were, what could happen. And they were immediately attached to us. And I have to say that they tore my son down and they built him back up with the same qualities, the same core values that we in our home have built into our children. Unfortunately, Jonathan didn't want to take what mom and dad said, as a lot of children don't. They don't take what the parents say. They have to go out and find out on their own what life is about. We've already been through it. We have a whole book we could write on it, but he had to find out for himself. So the Marines did just that. They took exactly what we put in him. They tore down what the junk in his life, and they built him back up. And that's why our principal can say he was a man. He came back. He was a man. And we were so proud of him. From the moment I saw him in boot camp, his eyes welled up with tears after we found each other in that crazy mess. If anybody's been down to Paris Island on graduation day, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And we found each other, our eyes locked, and his eyes welled up with tears. That's the first time I really saw my son's heart. And like I said, he turned into this man, a great man. He still found ways of getting into trouble here and there. Of course, that's John. And he got those things probably from his dad and I. And anybody that knows us knows that we kind of push it a little bit. We push that envelope a little bit, but that's what makes John John. And so in all that said, we were just so blessed that our son became a Marine. We were ready for whatever came our way. And when that day did come, there's a reason for that. And in that reason, I don't know exactly why it happened. I don't know, and I don't sit there and try to figure it out. I know that someday I'll know. But right now I have to accept the fact that, you know, there's a lot of people who have been touched by his life. And there's a lot of memories that continue to flood through their minds and their hearts every day. We have a sweet, dear, loving couple here who named their son after our son. And there's a couple other little Jonathans, I understand, running around somewhere in the United States as well. His memory lives on, even just in that. So I just want to thank all of you. You have been a support to us. And I know I don't know you all, but just knowing that there are people in our community who are there backing us up, who find that our son's death is significant, that means the world to me. And some of you I'll never see again, and some of you I'll see tomorrow. But I am so grateful, and I'm very grateful to Sheryl. She has been a true blessing to our family and a friend. And so I could just stand up here and go on and on and on. But I am just going to leave it at that. I'm so grateful for my son. And every day I think of him. And I want to share one more thing with you. John and I talked every day for 5 years. My son was 3 months from coming home. 5 years. I haven't seen, my son hasn't been in the house since he was 18 years old. And if I'm mistaken, he would be 27 today, or this year, I believe. I lose track. But in those 5 years that he was in Hawaii, we would talk almost every week, except for when he was in Afghanistan and in Iraq. And then I did get a phone call from him once. But I have to say that when I was speaking to him, one of the last times we were speaking, as a matter of fact, 6 years ago this week, we were in Hawaii with him, and that's the last we saw our son, was November the 10th, was the last I saw my son. He said to me, "Mom, I can't wait to come home. Hawaii is a beautiful place, but Pennsylvania is beautiful too." He wanted to come back and see the changing of the leaves. And I think so, you know, I woke up this morning and the leaves were turning, and November, first week in November is always the best time to catch the view of the leaves and how appropriate it is. He said, "I really miss the colors of the changing of the leaves." And he said, "I can't wait to get back to Pennsylvania." So that was one of our last conversations. And
Fitting day.
yeah, so this is a good day. It's a beautiful day. When you go outside, you see those beautiful leaves. Think about our Johnny boy, and that's his name. And so I want to thank you all so very much from our hearts, and thank you for the servicemen here and women. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you've done. And thank you all.
Today we dedicated the bridge State Highway 15 over Route 114. This is an area where his family travels frequently. This is an area where family and friends, and many that don't know him, will look at his name and understand that someone served our country and served it well.